On behalf of the Regional Group, Deputy Noel Grealish, please.
Taoiseach, there are a large cohort of Irish people who are struggling with the rising cost of living, and unfortunately they receive little government support or media attention. These are Ireland's middle class. They are cash poor and time poor. The people who go out to work every day, who don't earn enough to be well off, but earn too much to qualify for many state supports. Many of these are young families who are struggling with the soaring cost of living, the cost of groceries, rising energy prices and even the rising cost of fuel, which hits these people hardest as they spend longer in their cars every week commuting to work. This situation is compounded by the fact that some are paying sky-high rents because they earn too much to qualify for social housing or HAP, and they cannot possibly buy their own homes on the open market at affordable rates. And others are being crucified by rising mortgage interest rates. Taoiseach, a constituent who came to see me recently, is now afraid to open the mail, as his mortgage repayments have doubled in the last year and he simply cannot afford any further hikes. This constituent is one of tens of thousands of people struggling to pay their mortgages after the ECB increased interest rates 10 times since last July. The cost of living crisis is also a huge problem for older people on fixed incomes and pensions, who have seen their real incomes decline as they also struggle with the rising cost of living. Taoiseach, these people are growing increasingly disillusioned. Understandably, many ask, why should they get up early and work for a living? The squeezed middle class never feel like a priority, yet they continue to make a huge contribution to the success of our economy and our society. All of this is happening while media reports say that Ireland will have a record budget surplus of €10 billion this year. In an interview last year, Taoiseach, you stated that you wanted, as a government, to commit to significantly reducing the cost of living for working and middle-income families and make work pay. You said that these people who go to work should earn enough to have a decent standard of living. Unfortunately, the previous budget measures of small tax credit increases have been swallowed up by the rising cost of living, and these people continue to find themselves worse off rather than better off. Taoiseach, my question to you is, will you look after the squeezed middle class, the older people on fixed income and pensions, and the most vulnerable in our society in the forthcoming budget?
Thank you, Deputy Grealish. Taoiseach.
Thanks, Deputy. The answer to your question is that I will. Helping Middle Ireland, middle-income people has always been a priority for me and is a priority for this government. I think we've done a lot already in recent years, but there's always more to do, and I absolutely acknowledge that. But our priority, or at least one of our major priorities in this forthcoming budget, is to help middle-income people, to help Middle Ireland with the high cost of living. And there are a number of different ways that we can do that. As I often say, any household budget has three elements. There's the amount you get paid, the amount you get to keep after income tax and USC and PRSI, and how far the money goes. And that is linked, of course, to the cost of services. And that's where we are helping. Pay has gone up. Minimum wage for working people went up 7.8% this year, higher than the rate of inflation. And many people would have got pay increases on average around 5% across the economy this year. And there will be further increases in pay next year. We can reduce income tax, which we've done in the last couple of budgets, and we will do in this budget too. Because it's incremental, sometimes people don't necessarily add up how much it's been worth to them, but we started reducing income tax in USC back in 2014. So somebody earning 40,000 or more today pays €3,000 a year less in income tax and PRSI than they did on 40,000 in 2014. A couple, both earning 80,000 between them, pay 6,000 less in income tax and USC than was the case if they're earning the same amount of money back in 2014. That's the cost of what a left-led government would be to middle-income people. About €3,000 a year, maybe €6,000 a year for a couple, and that gap is widening with every budget where we reduce income tax and USC, and the left-wing parties vote down our efforts to do so. And of course, the third area that we help is with universal benefits, because middle-income people generally don't qualify for means tests. They're over the limit, and that's why we've made sure that some of the cost of living improvements that we've made have been universal, like the reduction in the SUSI grant. like the reduction in the college fees, college contribution costs, like, for example, the extension of free school books to all primary school children, no means test, like, for example, the reductions in childcare costs, worth about 25% in terms of reduced fees only in the last year. And again, it's middle-income working people are the ones who benefit the most from that measure. Just in terms of the mortgage issue, and I represent a constituency full of people who are paying mortgages, and it has been a big shock for people. 10 letters in the post in the last year telling you that your mortgage has gone up, particularly for people who track their mortgages. Even somebody with a modest mortgage of 250,000 is probably paying €500 more a month. It's a big increase and a big shock for people. It is, though, coming on a backdrop where we had extremely low interest rates for a prolonged period of time, and that needs to be borne in mind too.
Thank you, Taoiseach. Deputy Grealish.
Taoiseach, I understand that the cost of living measures were introduced in last year's budget, and these were very much appreciated. But a lot of these were once-off measures. The forgotten middle class are the people that are paying for everything and availing at practically nothing. It was reported in the Irish Independent last Saturday that 1.1 million of Ireland's full-time workers pay the higher rate of tax. A lot of these people are not well paid. Many are just marginally over the threshold of the 40% tax rate. It's time to give these people much needed relief, as these are the people that often feel forgotten about. Taoiseach, will you introduce significant tax benefits, including a reduction in that hated universal social charge and a mortgage interest relief scheme to give these people some hope, as they are completely disillusioned? And Taoiseach, and you're right from what you said about the mortgage and the letters, the amount of people that are on, they're on to my office, I've seen a lot of TDs here, they're actually afraid now to open the letters that come from the financial institutions. Some of them, the mortgages have actually doubled since last July, and that is putting a huge burden on families. So Taoiseach, and they're the middle class families, Taoiseach, will you look after these in the forthcoming budget, please?
Taoiseach.
Thanks, Deputy. You're right. Over 1 million people pay the highest rate of income tax in Ireland. You hit that highest rate of tax at a much lower level than would be the case in the majority of our competitor countries. But we have raised that threshold. Not that long ago it was €33,000 a year. Now it's 40,000, and we want to raise it further in forthcoming budgets. And we'll do as much as we can afford to do within the budgetary constraints in terms of the tax package. But bear in mind, unlike some of the one-off measures that we've announced in recent budgets and in recent times, tax reductions are cumulative. So the tax package of €1.1 billion in the forthcoming budget is on top of the tax package of €1.1 billion in the previous budget. It's 2.2. We have tax packages of €0.5 billion in previous budgets. So it's all adding up to €4, €5, €6 billion less in tax that those middle-income people pay because this government is in office and the alternative is not.
Thank you very much. Now.